What's up, ZBrushers? Welcome back to Z Fever. My name is Ricky, and today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite subject, UVs. Yeah, I know, it's terrible, right? But at some point in time in your workflow, you're going to have to address this issue in order to be able to get textures out of ZBrush. Now, you can go to an external program if you would like, but we can handle UVs just fine here in ZBrush. You might consider taking the UVs that you get and cleaning them up externally. That's totally on you. Now, UVs don't only apply to games and to film assets. You also need to use UVs if you're going to be doing any sort of 3D printing with color and things like that. So let's hop right to it. We've got this lovely model here that we're going to be using, and I'm only going to be focusing on her face. So let's hop into this and get right to it. So what you're going to need is, first of all, your model. So let's go ahead and solo her, not her eyeball. Okay, so what you're going to need is model, and you're going to need some topology. So if you've gone through and done a Dynamesh or something like that, you might consider doing a ZBrush to get you some topology, or you can go through and you can manually retopologize it yourself, and that will be addressed in a different video. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So what I have is just a mesh that I've been working on. She's got multiple subdivision levels, and these are going to be important whenever we go to work on our model. So let's say that you have a pretty dense amount of topology. This isn't too terribly crazy. I'm less than 300,000 polygons at the most on this character, but you could attempt to use the UV master to create these. I'm going to go ahead and dock this over. But what you want to do whenever you're using this UV master is you want to work on a clone. And what this is going to do is it's going to drop it to the lowest subdivision level that it possibly has. So if you've watched previous videos, working at a lower subdivision level helps on many levels, and this is just one of them. So what we're going to do is once we're in here, we're no longer in our main project. It's actually taken this model out and created a clone, and we're going to use this to get our UVs. So turn off check seams, don't need that right now. So we're going to be working with Symmetry. We're going to use some poly paint to help us out. So what I want to do is enable control painting. It's already enabled, and then I'm going to hit protect, and you'll notice down here over on the color it's going to drop it to this red. And so what I like to do is come over to the color palette and make sure that RGB is enabled, and also Z-add is off. Whenever you hit this button over here, it generally turns it off. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fill the entire object, right? You could go through and designate certain places that you want to be protected, but I like to go ahead and just cover the whole area. Now, whenever I switch over to attract, it's going to drop over into this blue, and so this is how ZBrush is going to recognize what needs to be a seam, what doesn't. So basically all we're going to do from this point is we're just going to paint, right? And while I'm doing this, I'm holding shift on the keyboard so it maintains this line. I do want to say that right now I'm using the 32-bit version of ZBrush 4R7 on a Mac. I ran into some problems with the 64-bit version. It was giving me some really wonky results, so I'm not sure if that's just a bug. Pixelogic has stated that while the 64-bit version is available, they're not currently offering support for it. So what I did there is I just hit the unwrap button, and what it went through and did is it just unwrapped the model. And so now we can go over here and check our seams. And you'll see that there's a seam running right down where we just painted that. And then you can flatten it out, and it'll give you this. Now, another thing that you can do is, let's say you wanted to adjust things. I wouldn't really mess around with it too much, but if some of you guys want to go through and make further changes, you can actually turn on your local symmetry, right? And you could come through, say, like your move brush, and you could just move some things around. Like if you wanted your eyes to be a little bit bigger, bear in mind that whenever it's flattened this, it has flattened all the topology. Now you could come back over with your smooth, right? But that is completely up to you. I'm not going to mess around with this. Something else to note is that the Z modeler does work on this. So I could come through and I could stitch things together, but that wouldn't probably be something that you want to do on something like this. I would leave the UV editing for another program at this point in time. So once I have this, I'm going to copy these UVs. Then I'm going to head back over to my other project. And then all I'm going to do is I'm simply going to paste these UVs. And it's going to go through, it's going to update the model. And now she should have UVs. Now I've gone through, I've already poly painted her and everything. And so what we can do to check for UVs is down, and this is all under the subtool palette, under the tool palette. You go to UV map. You can designate the export size of your map. So I'm just going to leave it at 2048, and you can check to make sure your UVs, if this is not available to be selected, this morph UV, then you do not have UVs. So I'm going to hit that, and there we go. I got UVs on this character. So the way to export these, since we're already here, is let's suppose that we didn't have textures on this in the first place, and we want to we want to get textures out of here. So what we can do is create new from polypaint, and what it's going to do is yeah, well, yeah, that's lovely. So see, whenever I created new UVs, I had a displacement map on here, and it was pulling information from the old UVs, right? And so it just updated that. So let's head back over to our texture map, and see, now it's created a brand new map. And what I want to do to get this out of here is I want to clone this texture, right? And whenever I have it cloned, it's going to reside over in the texture, in this texture palette. And then what I can do, if I'm going to send this out to, say, like Maya or 3ds Max, we're going to want to flip these in the V. So I'm going to flip it. It's going to flip. And then I'm going to export this. And so I'll say this is Toon Face texture base. You know, use whatever naming convention works for you. Now it gives you this indicator that it contains material IDs embedded within each pixel. For those of you who are going to make use of this, this might be beneficial to your workflow. And so now I have these textures, and if you ever run into a situation where you load up and you turn on your polyframe and it just gives you this wireframe, it means that your textures are on, right? And so what we can do is we can just continue going down the line. I mean, if you're going to be using displacement of any kind, or let's say for a normal map, we would also want to go ahead and create a normal map, right? And it's going to pull from the same information, the same map size and everything else. And so this we would clone this normal map, and it would also sit in our texture palette. And then we would also want to flip this, and then we would also want to export it. So I generally create these as PSD so that I can take this into Photoshop and then continue editing if I want to add any additional stuff to it. So this is just a very quick workflow. There's a lot of information about UVs, but you know what, I wanted to make sure that if you guys are hanging out on this channel and you need information, while this might not be used for a lot of people, you know, I want to make sure that we cover this. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. If I went through something a little too fast, just give me a shout and I'll be more than happy to address it. Otherwise, I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. We got a lot more to come here in the future. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy ZBrushing.